There we go. Hello, everybody. Time for me to make yet another video. I was just talking to the group about this because I am about to do some research for work on my live stream. So, all right, chat, everybody wave to YouTube. Everybody say hi to YouTube. And I was just making a comment about how much I don't care about what I look like these days. I used to care. I used to like put a fancy shirt on, everything, whatever. So the topic came up again. Why don't I tell people where I work? So that's what this video is about. All right. The bottom line is I don't think it's appropriate. Why? Why is it inappropriate to share where you work? There are many, many live streamers and YouTubers and people who wear where they work on their sleeve, so to speak, which means, they tell everybody all the time. And I have talked about this topic a lot, but this is a little tiny video to encapsulate the main reasons that I think, at least in my case, why it's inappropriate to share where I work, right? Please don't guess in the comments. Please don't try to dox where I work. It's one of the very few things. I actually don't mind knowing you guys knowing where I live more than knowing where I work because I think it's so inappropriate to do that. And so I'm going to tell you a couple stories. So once upon a time, I worked for IBM. That was a long time ago. Obviously, I don't work there now. And I went through training. I went through security training, and they showed us, and they're sort of Mr. Robot-esque, evil corp kind of presentation. They said, here's all the ways, that a corporation can be compromised through corporate espionage. And one of them was, Jimmy's going to the pub with his coworkers, and he's wearing his badge on his belt and has forgotten to take it off. And then they have this sinister corporate spy in the corner over there. He's looking at his badge. He's like, oh, he knows where this. Little does Jimmy know that he's being used right now to, provide information about where he works. Oh no, it looks like Jimmy drank a little bit too much alcohol and now he's talking about his project to the random person at the bar, which I have done, by the way. And oh no, he's giving up corporate secrets to, oh no. And the other person, he goes to the bathroom and he's writing down, okay, like the spy is writing all this stuff down. Right? And it's what's wrong with this scenario? What has Jimmy done wrong? Well, anybody with a brain would know that, and by the way, depending on where you work, if you work for a security agency or you work for the government or something like that, that's why they want you on site all the time. They won't even let you out. They're you can't even go past the door with your badge on. They'll check you. They'll make sure your badge is put away. I mean, there's a million checks and balances in the system to make sure that you don't end up becoming, a target. And even if you don't work for a company that needs to be that secure, it's worth considering that is actually pretty much normal anywhere. And there's a very extreme exception to this, which I find sort of troubling and comical at the same time. For some reason, working for a FANG company completely removes that consideration, and I have no idea why. Well, speaking Russian, we're not going to talk about where I used to work or where I did work or who I worked for or whether I was there. Everybody always has all of these jokes about me working, in the intelligence industry, we'll say. I'm not going to comment on that at all as well. So anyway, the point is, the FANG companies, I don't know why, but these, big ass FANG companies, the people that work there feel like they can talk about it openly, and they regularly do. In fact, I would go to the point to say that many live streamers actually use the fact that they either once worked for one of these FANG companies or are currently working for one of them as a marketing tool. And I can't tell you how completely upside down that is to me. And the reason it's upside down is because I was trained, very strictly trained. You can call me a boomer, whatever you want to call me, but I was very strictly trained to not give up that information at all. Meanwhile, we have people with with like 7,000 people watching him on the stream, and they're talking about the project that they're doing at whatever company, at a bank company. And I'm like, you're literally talking about what you're working on live for everybody to see, you know? And if you work, I mean, if you work in the investment banking industry, if you work in any of the security industries, if you work in any of the conservative medicine, um, any of the conservative mainstream sort of center of our economy companies, randomly talking about the projects you're working on is a huge no-no. And I'm going to make this video and I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to try to pump it up. Nobody's going to care because I'm such a tiny little streamer. Nobody cares. But at least I'm going to get it off my chest. Talking about where you work is almost always inappropriate. In fact, sometimes it can get you fired. So you have been warned. There are many, many people who have gotten special permission to talk about it. And again, we are not talking about anyone specific. If you are watching this and you are one of these people who wears where they work on their sleeve while they live stream and while they work at YouTube, and I mean while they share their stuff on YouTube, I am not calling you out. I am not. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not attacking you. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying that it's very abnormal to do that in most jobs. In most jobs, if you decide to co-work and say where you're working and talk about the drama at your work and even talk about the selections of architecture, are you using GitLab or GitHub? Are you using Red Hat? What's your internal host and stuff like that? These things, even these like generally high, I mean, I continue to have pause every time I share something as simple as, oh, we're using GitHub Enterprise Cloud, right? Because in a certain circumstance, in a certain context, giving away what our core cloud architecture decisions are, it would be considered like, here, have this for free. And if you knew the company I work for, you would know the competition could go, oh, that's why they're doing so much better. They're moving to this. And so when I talk about the struggles of us moving to cloud versus Kubernetes and how people are moving back to internal Kubernetes on-prem because they're paying too much money and the machine learning jobs aren't working, our competitors are sitting there, yeah, mm-hmm. And they're taking notes. Oh, okay. No Kubernetes on-prem. Okay, keep it on-prem. Let's not waste time going. So our competition is sitting there taking down all of the strategic architectural decision notes and lessons learned because I have shared them. And this gives me pause. This gives me pause. Now, you don't know where I work, and that is my only protection. My only protection is that you don't know where I work. And I appreciate you guys not trying to dox where I work or anything. Because that is like a minimal protection. Anybody, I mean, with even minimal amount of like, investigative ability could probably figure out where I work. Just from watching the streams and hearing me talk and some of the few details that I have doxed, very general details, but you put those general details together, you could probably figure it out. I mean, I've been around intelligence people enough to know that it's not hard, including my wife, who was a postal inspector and a detective and, the regional director for security for Old Navy. She can find anything out. So, that, but the point is that when you hear about what we're doing, if you're my competitor, you would do it. So I'm just trying to explain to everybody. People are having fun with me in chat. I want to just tell you that this is why I don't talk about where I work. Okay, I don't, and I feel like it's inappropriate, and I'm putting this out there because it's probably inappropriate for you. So if you're just watching this video as a part of the beginner boost and you're trying to break into the tech industry, or you're just trying to understand where I'm coming from, either way, that answers the question. So what do I think it actually is appropriate to do? I think it is appropriate to have a professional network, a professional learning network, if you want to call it that. Some people call it a PLN. In the education world, they call it a PLN, a personal learning network. Some people call it a professional learning network, just a professional network. Having a network of people that you can go to ask, what are the challenges you faced at your organization and stuff, without knowing where they work, is a phenomenal thing to have. In fact, I would go so far as to say is it's actually required if you're going to have a tech job in the modern era. right now, I won't go into detail, but I'm kind of having a little bit of a debate in one of our centers of excellence, um, with someone who's paid to be a chief architect in the company who has no idea. This is why you don't know where I work. He has no idea. You know, he would rather deploy a huge, monstrous, bloated Tecton pipeline than to use a standard GitHub action to release Go code. And I'm telling him, I actually put a one liner in there. I put a one liner in there. They don't, the architects regularly don't know why. Because I put a one liner in there and I got a little bit of laughter from people in the back channel. I would prefer to use the industry standard. And that started a fight. It started a huge fight because now everybody's like, well, what do you mean is a standard? And then I had to talk about what I find to be a standard to me. And this is relevant to why I'm saying why I think you need a network. By having a network, whether it's a live stream network or just you go to meetups or you go to conventions, however you manage your meetup, your network, that's how you're going to have your ear to the ground, as they say, and you're going to be able to regularly get feedback from highly curated members of your professional learning community who you trust, people who are very awesome Go engineers or regularly coding in Go, people who are regularly presenting and researching on stuff. And, you know, there are people in my community, many of you know who I'm talking about here, people who have consulted with, you know, government agencies and even the president directly, people who are the CTOs for large investment banks and healthcare organizations and all these people. These people are members of my community. They're members of my live stream community. They regularly come on in, and I know this because they have talked about it on their own, so I'm assuming that they're not lying to me. They could be lying, who knows? But the point is that when you're trying to achieve consensus, by the way, it's not just them, right? It's also people in that I go to at meetups and stuff like that I make through that. I don't do conventions very much because it's usually a waste of time, but it's fun. It's a fun waste of time. Um, so that's where I stand. I'll make another video completely about building up your professional learning network and how important that is. But so this little debate I had with this architect, you know, that's a good example of something that I want to talk about and I want to research. And the other challenge I have right now, which is figuring out how to use inner source, which is Google's cloud platform for compiling Go code. These are things that I want to talk about in a broader environment, and there are challenges that we are faced with currently, and so that prompted the creation of this video because I'm about to talk about things that we're facing as challenges inside of this huge multinational corporation that I work for. That we haven't figured out, that if the competition knew we hadn't figured it out yet, you know, it might be a bad thing. But now that the competition doesn't know where I work, I feel like it's okay to talk about it. So that's where I'm coming from. Once again, I just want to say this. I want to say it one more time. If you are one of these people who feels appropriate to share where you work, and there are many companies, modern companies, who feel like it's actually good to have live streamers talking about where they work, including security companies, which seems very odd to me, but whatever. I mean, I can't. There are security companies who regularly use social media and live streaming as a method of promoting their own company, and that's weird. I mean, to me, that's just really weird. But you know, who am I? I'm just an old guy who works for a really conservative company. So that's where I'm coming from, and we're gonna stop on that. All right.